Welcome aboard our 32-foot sailboat, home, and world traveler, Lutra. Our names are Katie and Bryan, and our plans are to take this little boat of ours to faraway places. We spent the last few years putting in countless hours to make her ready to sail just about anywhere. A list of projects far too long to cover here, and there are just about as many we'll still need to do somewhere further downwind. But now, the day had come. We'd quit our jobs, sold just about everything we owned, and prepared to untie the lines. I've done something like this before, on an even smaller boat, and with far less preparation. Almost zero to be exact. For Katie, though, this is a new adventure. The immediate goal is to sail south from our home port of Monterey, California, toward Mexico, visiting the Channel Islands in between, and then the southern California coast along the way. We hope to cruise Baja and the Sea of Cortez, and from there, evaluate whether we're ready to face something even bigger. Today, though, we are untying the lines and committing ourselves to the adventure. As we motored out of the Monterey harbor, we waved goodbye to friends that had gathered on the wharf. Internally, we also waved goodbye to the place that we were so lucky to call home for the last few years. It's October now, and we chose this departure date as the forecast was very favorable for a downwind sail. But that meant that the bay itself was becalmed this afternoon. Alright, well, we are sailing. Well, actually, motor sailing. We left Monterey about, 3 hours ago. And we're now heading south along the coast, just off of Point Lobos here. Sea state's like, I don't know what it actually is. The nearest buoy said like 6 or 7 feet, 11 seconds, and that's probably what it is. Not really enough wind to fully sail yet, but we're getting closer. And it'll be probably a beautiful sunset.
Excited to see Big Sur in the sunset.
Yeah, she's not sick.
And I'm not sick. And that's the most exciting part for me right now.
That is exciting. With a little more wind, the headsail came out and we ventured around Point Lobos and beyond the protection of Monterey Bay. It wasn't long before we had enough wind to turn off the engine and enjoy just the sounds of water lapping the hull and unsecured items crashing around down below. Now it really felt real. What do you think of sailing?
If it's all like this is excellent.
Hey look, wait, do you hear that?
Huh?
You hear that?
What?
There's no engine running.
Oh yeah.
It really started to feel like trade wind sailing at this point, and the only way to point where we needed to go was to pull out the headsail. But this was not at all uncomfortable, and the boat, despite her reputation, was sea kindly and we cruised along at 5 to 6 knots along the Big Sur coast. We were going south on prevailing northwesterlies, and Lutra was showing us just what she was made for. You could say we were having a moment. Well, good news is the wind filled in. We got 16 knots currently, 15 to 16, 20 degrees off our stern. And so we're sailing, no engine. Katie's down below, making sure she is gonna be nice and warm. We put our bibs on. It's about 6:49, sun is set. And we're just passing close to Point Sur at this point. We're gonna make a turn here in about half an hour. Where's my sandwich?
You make me a sandwich.
Yeah, going pretty good. See how the night goes. I would be lying if I said we weren't a little anxious as the sun set. This would be Katie's first overnight passage, and my first on this boat. As darkness came, the wind slowly grew to 20 knots, so we kept dinner simple with some leftovers we had in the fridge, and are oh so grateful for our gimbaling stove. I didn't fill it too high just in case.
Thank you!
10:20. It's pretty early. We're both down below. No one's driving the boat. And the winds are calming down a little bit. It's been kind of windy. It's been like 20, 22 knots. Like pretty steadily for a while there. We only have our mainsail with one reef in up, which is kind of unusual, and no headsail out. We left the pole in position. We're past Point Sur at this point. The winds are definitely calming down a little bit, so we'll see if the forecast is true. Katie might take a nap. I'm probably going to power through. I just downed a Red Bull, so I am in good shape. And yeah. The boat sailed surprisingly well with only a reefed main, and we were still averaging over 5 knots. There honestly wasn't too much for us to do at this point, other than to keep an eye on things, or put in a reef as needed. The wind is still steady. It's calmed down a little bit. We got it off our port stern, about 16 knots. We thought about deploying more sail, but as the old saying goes, if you're thinking about shaking out a reef, make a cup of tea instead. So we made tea. How much power that kettle draws. Eventually, though, we did unfurl the headsail as the winds calmed a little. It wasn't the happiest sail, but it was tolerable. The night was uneventful other than some dolphins that we heard before we saw. We think they were feeding on fish disturbed by our wake. By first light, the motor was once again on, as we had lost all of our blustery wind. But we didn't mind, as the shades of orange and purples in the twilight were comforting after a long night. Few things are as welcoming of a sight as the sunrises on passage. It revitalizes the soul and erases any dread or anxiety that may have crept up in the night. It's a fresh start, and once again, you feel like you could go anywhere on your little home of a boat. How was your first overnight sail?
It was good. I think I was kind of spoiled. The sea state was really nice. We were sailing for a lot of it. And then motor sailing on pretty calm seas. So
Yeah.
I don't have any complaints. It was lovely. It was a little cold.
A little bit cold.
I got 2 solid hours of sleep.
She got 2 hours sleep.
I went down and knocked out for, 2 hours. You tried.
I got an hour and a half of laying down and listening to a podcast, which was nice. It was a beautiful morning, and proving to be a beautiful day. The forecast predicted strong winds as we approached the next point, so we decided just to leave a reef in the mainsail until we had an idea of what those conditions would be. Of course, it was windier than the forecast, and we were glad we had left the reef in. At 25 knots, we decided to put a second reef in and throw in a bit of jib. But we were still flying along at over 6 knots. Eventually though, as we passed the breakwater into San Luis Harbor, the wind stopped and the seas were flat. We opted to pick up a seasonal mooring, and literally did so just as the harbor guys were pulling them up for the year. They were happy to let us stay for a few days though. So we made it to Avila, which is kind of the port of San Luis. And we picked up a mooring because I don't have a good reason. And we're just waiting for our water taxi now. It's the nice thing about having a mooring is I think there's a free water taxi service. So we didn't want to put the dinghy in the water just yet. We're going to take a ride into town. And then we will go explore and see what is going on here. Maybe find some facilities and look at some otters. The water taxi is a nice feature since there is actually no dinghy dock here. There is a ladder we can use at the wharf, but more on that later. Seeing Lutra out there on her mooring made us feel like proud parents. We did all we could to prepare her, but ultimately she's the one that got us here safely. Boy does she look good out there. We decided to walk a mile down the road to the nearest town, the little touristy beach town of Avila. We didn't really need anything there, but it was fun to explore and move our legs. We did make at least one very important stop though.
Happy Bryan.
Diabetic Bryan. We felt like we deserved a little treat. It may not have been a long passage, but it was a big milestone for us. And it really did feel like we could go anywhere now. Well, maybe not, but anywhere between here and Mexico. Back at the boat that night, we settled in for dinner and a movie and slept very, very well. Our next passage has us rounding Point Conception. It's a somewhat notorious spot on the US West Coast, so we had a few days to wait here for an appropriate weather window. Plus, there were projects to do. Alright, so we are fully charged, and there's still plenty of sun out there. The yield just dropped because the batteries are charged. So in these situations where we have plenty of power, we are going to go ahead and make some water. The first thing to do is make sure the seacock is open. To get to that seacock, we have to get to our engine room. Seacock is open. Second step is to make sure our manifold under the floor is set to the right tanks, which I've already done. And then we're going to turn on the boost pump. Wait for pressure to come up. And then we'll go ahead and turn on the main pump. And we want about 800 psi. Now that the water maker's on, the solar is starting to output more power again. And we're currently making probably about 14 gallons, maybe 15. Our main water tank is basically full. We don't have readings on our aft water tanks, so I don't know how full they are exactly. So I'm just going to run it for maybe 10 or 20 minutes. We had a filter before our sink to collect any gross stuff before it gets to our drinking faucet, but currently it's installed upstream of our pumps, and I think it's causing problems. I think there's just like an airlock that I can't clear the air out of, but I think what I'm going to do is just bypass it completely for now. The only issue with that is we need to protect the pump, so I'm going to install a strainer that we just happen to have, which I brought for this purpose because I'm like, we're probably going to need one of these for a pump someday. So I'm going to go ahead and install that in front of our freshwater pump instead of using this. Let's play the game of can I find the right fitting That will work. I installed it backwards. This filter does have directionality, and I noted it before I installed it. And I went ahead and did it wrong anyway, because why would it be fun to do it right? Just gotta make sure there's no leaks. Oh, there might be a little bit of a leak. I think it might just be water dripping from unplugging everything. With the work complete, we opted to put the dinghy in the water. It's a nesting dinghy, so we first assemble it on the foredeck, and then use our spinnaker halyard to hoist it up over the lifelines and into the water. So beautiful. Man, I wonder who made it. He did a good job. We're still pretty new to this approach, but it seems to be working well. The wharf situation is a little sketchy though. This is a fun dinghy dock situation. We made a few trips to shore like this over the next few days, each time getting a little more confident in the tie-up, and that a sea lion wouldn't capsize the dinghy while we were away. But we also explored the bay. And found a little beach on the northwest corner with steps leading up to the lighthouse. We have a rolling night.
A little bit of a rolling night.
You can tell by the fact that the leak off was up.
I left bed last night and moved to a more secure sleeping situation.
It was also very foggy last night. And this morning it's clearing up. But we couldn't see anything around us, not even the beach, which is not that far away. The fog made for a dramatic backdrop for Little Lutra and the anchorage. However, the fog was also poorly timed, as our plan was to depart tonight, timing our arrival at Point Conception in the morning, when winds would be their lightest. We have mixed feelings about rounding the point, but we know regardless, Lutra will get us through it safely. Next time, we make last-minute departure plans and set out into dense fog toward the notorious Point Conception, where we finally find that Southern California sun and hook up with some familiar faces. If you like this adventure, let us know by giving us a like or by leaving a comment. And if you want to see more, be sure to subscribe to follow along.